Have you ever thought to yourself, I wish I could just boost my metabolism? Or maybe when it comes to fitness and health, you're confused and frustrated about what to actually do to get the results you want and make a healthy lifestyle change. If that's where you're at, this video is perfect for you. My name is Brian Pickowitz, and I'm one of the head coaches of the Fitness Project, where we focus on building fit and healthy leaders. Today, I want to share with you our Metabolism Masterclass. Now, this was a live training we did last week for a free community that we host full of business owners and executives who are dialing in their habits so they can get in great shape, but also live a healthy life that allows them to lead at their best. And our goal with this masterclass is really to demystify your metabolism, teach the facts, but ultimately show you the habits that you need in order to live a healthy life and fuel your body the right way. So we hope this is helpful. I want to make it really easy for you to understand what your body needs. So as you're going through this, take notes, and also let us know in the comment section what your big takeaway is. And if you have any questions, we'd love to give you some feedback as well. So give this video a thumbs up, enjoy the video, and we will see you in the masterclass. Enjoy.
Hello.
Nice to see you all. Nice to see you.
Hello. Welcome.
Candy, Amy, nice to see you.
I'll see your faces for a second.
Jen.
Hello. Welcome in, everybody.
Tim, nice to see you. Hope all is well. Martha, pleasure. Really excited to have you here.
Excellent. We're gonna let
Anna,
everybody
nice to
take
see
a
you.
second.
Yeah.
Get yourselves set up. I love that some of you guys already have notebooks and pens. We must have had good conversations before.
Yeah.
Get yourselves all set up and squared away. If you can, turn on your video, do it. We love to see faces.
Makes the world a difference when we get to connect. It's like we're actually in person.
Yes, good stuff.
Julie, nice to see you. It's a pleasure.
And for those who haven't met us yet, I'm Lindsay.
And my name's Brian.
We're married. We're the Pickowitzes. It's
And
nice to meet you.
Yes, and we are the head coaches of the Fitness Project. We're going to be teaching you everything today about your metabolism, understanding your energy systems, and ultimately the goal is that you can feel great leaving here with a wealth of knowledge.
Yes. So we are going to get started here since you guys are right on time. So we will let everybody in as they come, but welcome to the Metabolism Masterclass. This is going to be jam-packed, so we are going to dig into this. Cool. Everybody set to go? Thumbs up.
Are we excited, right? Are
ready
we excited, ready to learn, ready to gain some insights, right?
Very good. Very good.
Our goal is to take the most confusing topic you've probably ever heard of and make it fun, make it digestible, and make it something where you feel empowered as you walk away from this.
Yes.
So today we're doing metabolism, right? So this is the Metabolism Masterclass, really focusing on demystifying and busting myths around your metabolism. So ultimately you can transform your body and you can get your energy back for life, right? Who's here for having more energy, having your body where you want it to be? Yes. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Good. So we want to get to know you first so we know who we are talking to. So do us a favor, open up your chat box, especially if you are on a place where you are safe to do so and you're not driving. We want to know two things coming into this again, so we can adjust as needed for you. But first and foremost, what's your primary fitness and health goal right now in this season? Drop that in. And then second, what do you hope to learn or take away from this class? We want to, like we said, we want to over deliver. We want to add as much value for you as we can. So do us a favor and drop those two in the chat. And that way we can get to know who we are talking to here. And we'll dig in after that. Brownie points for whoever gets their answer in first. And take your time. We are going to have plenty of space for questions too, just so
build
everybody
muscle,
knows.
Decrease body fat, be able to eat more calories without gaining fat. That's great, Jen.
Glad you made it, Jen. You look fabulous. Jen and I have known each other for a very long time.
Yeah. Look forward to lose weight without losing my mind.
Amen, Martha.
Amen. We don't want you to lose your mind, Martha.
Be healthier and have more energy. Beautiful. Yes. Consistency, better energy, and organization. Ooh, I like it. Yeah.
I think we have someone.
Perfect. Transform my body and lose weight. You're in the right place.
Learning here.
Feel better in my body.
Gain muscle.
Yeah.
Stay consistent with workouts. Love that.
Yeah. Learning how to increase metabolism after menopause. Yes. Primary goal is weight loss and feeling like I have some control. Yep. That's what we're all after, isn't it? Just want to feel like you're in control of your body.
For exercises that I can do with my knee limitations. Well, hopefully we can show you some helpful tips that will influence that.
Yes. And with very, very specific questions, like I have a knee limitation or I have something, what exercises can I do? Please feel free to ask those questions in our Q&A section too. Like if there's something you want to know and that's what you're here for, please ask. Don't feel like, oh, they didn't cover it, so it's not important. Like ask that question when we get to Q&A as well.
You get us live, right? So you get to have as much fun as you want.
Yes.
Awesome. Well,
Beautiful,
we got some really great answers, really fantastic answers. And I think it's a good place for us to build off. So it seems like consistency is one theme. It seems like having more control. It seems like even though only I think Martha was the one that said it, not losing your mind in the process, right? Not being confused. Does anyone feel overwhelmed by how you feel like you need to take care of your body at times? Like, oh, like
what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Well, then we're hitting the right note. So it's important as we're diving in, take notes. The more engaged you are here, the more you're going to gain, right? So the more that you can ask questions at the end, the more you can really understand what's best for you, the more you're going to get out of this. But we wanted to do a little temp check as we got started. So let us know if any of this sounds familiar.
Yeah, because I think we're going to be on the same page here, but there's no wrong answers. Only raise your hand if you actually resonate. Do you feel frustrated or dissatisfied with where you're at right now? Anybody? Okay. Again, we're not trying to get you to answer all of these. We just want to genuinely know who's in the room. Second, do any of you, do you get overwhelmed or confused specifically around too much information, right? Like whether it's around metabolism or like the best methods for weight loss at a certain age. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Same page. And then does anybody unsure of what your body actually needs in order to lose weight, have energy, be healthy, especially in this season of life at the age you are or whatever with whatever you have going on? Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. And lastly, who would like this to be a little bit more easy, a little bit more seamless?
Yes.
Not have to give it so much thought. Yeah.
Okay. Someone's like, we had a client who joined our team this week and she's like, can you just like get a magic wand and wave it over me and make it easier? And I'm like, well, I can do my best. I was like,
this week.
So we understand completely that these are very common, very oftentimes this is where we're at. We're frustrated, feel overwhelmed. We feel like there's got to be an easier way. And the good news is if that's the way that you're feeling, you're in the right place because Lindsay and I have also been there too. Now, our journeys look a little different, but they're really born out of frustration, right? Because when you're not where you want to be physically, it's frustrating. And I know for us, maybe this will resonate, there was this desire to change because we thought that we could do so much better, right? There was this like, oh my gosh, like I could see what life could be like. I could see how much confidence I'd have, how much energy I'd have. But there was this gap in between those 2 points. Mm-hmm. And so if we're winding the clocks back, our journeys really started probably almost a little bit more than a decade ago when I had my own first transformation. So I was playing college football. I'd put on a bunch of weight because I thought that that's what I had to do in order to play. And then I unfortunately couldn't keep playing because my family couldn't afford to send me to school. So I started working 60 hours a week, but I still had all this weight on me. And I was so blessed because one of the things that I fell into was a job at a supplement store. I became an assistant manager at the supplement store. And simultaneously, while I was working 60 hours a week, while I was going to college, I found this really great passion for fitness. And the reason why I was so passionate about fitness is because for an hour, I felt like I had control over my life. At the time, I was really uncertain. I was paying my way through college. Both my parents were sick. My mom had cancer. My dad had MS. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do in my life? I was so young, I couldn't figure it out. But I knew that if I went to the gym, things got better. And so I started on this path of really understanding how do you get your body to do what you want it to do versus feeling like it controls you, right? And I had this amazing transformation. I understood my habits. I got certified to help people with their nutrition. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I've like discovered the elixir. Like this is the way like you can figure out like how to be healthy. And I had so much passion. But the problem was that when people would come into our store, I would tell them like, okay, hey, here's a helpful like protein supplement. And if you eat right and you work out, it'll just help you on your way. And they would always look at me and say, well, that's not what Dr. Oz says. They would look at me and they say, well, it's not really the case. I just need a fat burner. Or can you tell me the fastest pill that's going to help me? And I remember feeling so defeated because I saw these people coming in consistently and they just weren't getting help. And they were, quite frankly, being lied to. They weren't being shown the truth, even if it was a little bit harder. They weren't being shown the real way to get healthy. And so at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, like there's got to be a better way to teach people this.
Yeah. And this is where it's fun. I was the person doing all of the fads, right? Like who's ever had a Pinterest board that's 20 miles long of like all the fitness stuff? I had the longest Pinterest board in the world of all these different workouts and fat burners and like things I could get. I took green tea supplements, like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 a day. Like, oh, I must be burning fat while I'm like doing my day. I fell for all of it. I did all the cardio in the world. I did every diet in the world and constantly ended up coming back to, okay, none of this works. Like I would gain and lose 10 to 20 pounds over and over and over and over again every time I was heavier than when I started. And so I came to this conclusion that like, okay, I genuinely just have a slow metabolism. If somebody saw me now, they'd be like, what's wrong with you, Lindsay, right? If any of you have seen my Facebook, that wouldn't make sense. But for me, I was like, that must be the reason. Like, it's just hard for me to lose weight, right? And that was my whole story until I collided with this guy, right? I met Brian in that same season, and we actually started dating during this time. And what I did was I started just picking his brain. I was like, oh, what is this training you're doing? And he taught me how to strength train, and he taught me about nutrition. I started understanding that there was more to nutrition than cleanses and diets, right? I learned about protein and macronutrients. And ultimately, even though I wasn't a client of his, I was his girlfriend, I ended up kind of being that first like success story in a way. And that was my original transformation right there. And I had lost like 40 pounds. And I was also on that same level now of like, oh my God, I figured it out. Like everybody must know. And really, that's really where our story began. So over the last 10 years, since those pictures, we've gotten in the best shape of our lives simply by mastering the fundamentals. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is not hype. It's like, how do you actually do this? And we developed a healthy relationship with food. We learned about habits. We learned about mindfulness. How do you maintain this body you've built? How do you build a healthy lifestyle rather than just lose weight or build a body? That's really what we've learned.
And now we're really grateful because we share these gifts. We call them gifts because we believe that they're really the most important things that we can have in our life with clients all across the country. So we've worked with over 1,000 executives, professionals, small business owners, and teaching them how to really get fit for life, showing them the ways that they can start to make fitness a core value for their life so that they can continue to grow in confidence, grow in energy, and lead at a new standard. And so our background started as bodybuilders, we became trainers, we've practiced mindfulness. We have so many different modalities that we pull into to really just help people live a healthy life. Because when you're healthy, you become a force for good. And so that's really what we believe. And we've been blessed, like I said, to work with some of the most ambitious entrepreneurs, business leaders, and really show them how to integrate this into their life. So they get results that last, and it becomes a lifestyle that allows them to show up as their best every day.
Mm-hmm. So basically, that's us. So you have some context on where we're coming from and kind of what we're going to be teaching you, what we value. So you know, again, you're in the right place. But really, by the end of today, what we're focusing on with you is really just giving you clarity, because metabolism is a huge topic. There's so many different places we could go. So we're trying to give you clarity on what you actually need to do, and also what you do not need to care about, what's not real or not helpful, not effective, so that you can improve your weight, your energy, and your overall health without either falling into obsession or just totally being confused about like whether or not you're even doing the right things and then just saying, screw it, right? Because that tends to be the two sides of the spectrum, right? So that is our promise for you, and that's what we are going to focus on. Okay, so here's our agenda, and this is where we will start turning it over to you so you can take some notes. And again, as questions come up, pop them in the chat or write them down and save them for the Q&A. But we're going to hit what your metabolism actually is. Super empowering to understand your own body. Second, we're going to go into metabolism myths. So we'll kind of debunk them, pull apart where is the truth in these. And then we'll go through the secrets, as we say, to lasting transformation. Like what is behind those transformations you see, right? And then we'll do some Q&A. But before we do forget, because we'll get into this and we'll share this at the end, but we do have a gift for you that will help you get some momentum and a very clear path forward. Absolutely no strings attached. We just want to make sure you walk away from this feeling confident and empowered. So we will give you that at the end once you take all of the information in. Okay.
Now, before we start, it's kind of like a little roller coaster. Can we just like raise our hands and be like, yeah, now we actually get to drop in? Yes, thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. Right? Because we want, yeah, there we go. We want to bring a little energy to this, right? Because who wants to sit passively and just listen to us talk, right? That's not fun. So we're going to start by actually sharing the information that you need. Okay. So this is where you want to turn on your thinking caps, turn on your ears.
Student mindset.
Right. So start to bring a little energy to this, because if not, this could easily become boring, mundane, and just feel like you're sitting in a lecture.
But we'll pause and pull you in when we see you snoozing.
Okay. So let's start off with this. What is a metabolism, right? What is your metabolism? Well, the Department of Biology at MIT defines it as essentially a set of life-sustaining chemical reactions within an organism that converts food into energy that helps us build and repair muscle, or build and repair tissue rather, and manage waste. Right. So this is a scientific answer, right? It's a bunch of energy. There's changes that happen in our body from a chemical level that takes essentially food and turns it into energy we use, right? So does anyone here eat food? Right? We all eat food, right? So we all consume, right? And the difference is obviously what we consume impacts how our body converts that to energy, right? The kinds of foods that we eat impacts the kind of energy we have, and so on and so forth. But just really understanding that we take in food, turn it into energy. Now, as we break down metabolism, it's really important to know that there's 4 core elements that make up your metabolism. Right? There's 4 core elements that make up your metabolism. And we're going to show you here very seamlessly what they look like. The first element, and your biggest element, right? The biggest factor for your metabolism is known as your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate. If I need to slow down, feel free to go like this. I will go and pace myself because I see really great notes taking. I appreciate that. So think of it this way. Each one of us, does everyone here also have a body, right? Yeah, awesome, fantastic. So your basal metabolic rate is essentially the amount of energy expended while at rest. So if you did not do anything all day, you still need energy to get your brain to work, right? Fun fact, your brain burns more calories than anything else in your body. This is also an amazing fact. If you take like a chess tournament, someone who's doing chess all day long, the championship chess tournaments, the average player burns 6,500 calories per match. A marathon athlete burns about 3,000. So your brain needs calories. Our body needs calories. So I think this is really important to know, because when you're eating food, or you're just existing, your body needs that for breathing, for circulation, for maintaining and repairing itself, for maintaining your temperature. And the ultimate goal is seeing this, is understanding that it's the powerhouse, right? This is why we want to make sure that we're eating enough healthy food, right? We don't want to be sitting at 400 calories, because your body's going to need more of that. Mm-hmm. So your BMR, though, is going to be unique to you. There are different factors that make it up, but it's based off your sex, your height, your weight, and your age. And there are things that can influence our BMR, which we'll talk about in a moment, but just starting to understand that this is actually a big factor. And if we can understand our BMR, it actually makes it easier for us to feel like we don't have to outwork a diet, which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And you can even think of this as understanding that when you don't eat enough food and you have brain fog, there you go, right? Your brain is not getting what it needs. This is a basic example of BMR. And this, again, this doesn't even include any other aspects of metabolism that we showed on that original pie chart. This is just one of them, 60%, but one of them. For a 42-year-old woman, 5'4", 200 pounds, BMR is typically about 1,500 calories, 1,552 at least. There's so many diets that are like 800 calories or less. That's less than your body actually needs to function. I repeat that because I didn't know that. And it creates pain. And a man, 42 years old, 5'10", 230 pounds, needs at least 1,950 calories. And that's just to function and feel good every day. With us? Make sense so far?
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so building off of that, where else does our metabolism come from, right? What are the other factors?
Yeah. So next is about 10% of your total energy expenditure, and that is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We're going to refer to this for the rest of today as NEAT. That is your acronym, NEAT. And NEAT encompasses all different energy expended for activities that are not deliberate exercise. So when you're listening to music, you're bobbing your head, when you're fidgeting and twirling your pen around.
When you're writing right now, right?
When you're writing right now, yes. Maintaining your posture, like just to keep yourself upright. These are movements that you do not consciously think about. Okay, so these do still require energy. It's just a smaller portion than your BMR. It's 10%, but it roughly accounts for anywhere from 5 to 15% of your total energy expenditure in a day. Okay, getting into the smaller ones here.
Next is going to be your thermic effect of food. So when we eat food, our body has to use energy to break it down. Now, this is kind of where one of the myths comes in, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Oh, I should eat more meals. You know, the thermic effect of food is very, very minuscule, but it does account for roughly 10% of our daily energy expenditure. Now, there is some truth to be said that eating protein requires a little bit more energy to break it down than, let's say, carbohydrates or fats. But understanding that, hey, when I do eat food, that's one of the ways that my body will use energy, just to break it down, absorb it, process the nutrients. Very important, though, I just want to make this note. This is not that important, right? We're talking about 10%, right? So we're talking about a very small total. So just being able to understand that it's not very important that you increase your meals. It's more important that you hit your calorie goal. Because if you hit your calorie goal for the day, you're not going to overeat and have a surplus, right? So rather than thinking I need to eat more meals in order to increase my thermic effect, it's really not important. Making sure that you're eating enough food for the day is more important of a highlight.
And anytime we refer to TEF for the rest of the day, that's what we're referring to as thermic defective food. Okay. The last one is the one that everybody knows, but tends to also put in a separate category from your metabolism, and it's physical activity. So this is really any deliberate movement, right? Whether it's a structured exercise, workout routine, or if it's just going for a walk, climbing an extra set of stairs, parking further away from the grocery store. These are all different forms of physical activity. Now, naturally, this is going to be the one that varies the most. The other three we covered are pretty regulated by your body. There's not quite so much influence you have over those. This you have the highest influence on, right? And it can range anywhere from 10% of your energy expenditure in a day to 25%, depending on what you do for your exercise, right? Or how active you are. Okay. So in summary, that's when people say like my metabolism, that is what it is. Does this make sense? Are you with me? Are you with us? Yeah, there's 4 different components: TEF, physical activity, NEAT, and BMR. All of those are what we're referring to when we talk about metabolism from here on out.
Now, to kind of build off of what Lindsay said here, the combination of these 4 elements make up what's known as your total daily energy expenditure. So think of this as the amount of calories that you take into your body per day to maintain your current weight, right? So we'll go over this a little bit more in depth right here, but you think these 4 elements are like the full pie chart, and the pie chart is how much energy you use, right? How much energy do you use? Now, there's different elements that we'll talk about that can influence that, but when we look at that map, it's how much did I exercise? You know, did I eat food? Because that's going to be the thermic effect of food. Doesn't matter, again, how many meals you eat. Don't worry about that. Did I fidget? Did I take notes during Brian? Yeah, did I take notes during Brian and Lindsay's masterclass? And then your BMR, which is just you being alive, right? And if that's happening, then your metabolism is working.
Yep.
So to kind of give you an example of how this actually looks, I kind of built this out based off of the percentages, right? So the total percentages, if we think of your BMR as 60%, that would mean about 1,500, that original number. So you take that and you say, oh, well, we know that thermic effect of food is about 10%. So that would mean about 20 or 258 calories per day is how much your body is burning based off of what it's eating, based off the fact that you're eating. And then you have your NEAT, which is, hey, I tapped my toes, I was driving a car, right? Those things that you're just doing. I sat in a chair. That's about another 10%. It can be 5 to 15, depending on how much you move, but thinking that conservative 10% is a good number. And then to give you a modest physical activity number, we utilize 30 minutes of intense cardio, which was an elliptical, but not like a soft elliptical, like we modulated for more intense cardio there. So that was about 324 calories burned. So you start to see that your total daily expenditure here would be about 2,400 calories, which means that if this was your body, right, you could maintain your current weight if you ate 2,400 calories, which is pretty positive, right? Because that doesn't mean that we have to sit at 1,200 calories to maintain where we're at. It starts to give us kind of a picture of what we might need to do in order to maybe lose weight or to optimize for our energy.
Yes. Don't go into solution mode yet. Warning. We're still in learning mode. Just absorb. This is all information that can tell you, give you some hints and clues about your body. Don't go into solution mode yet. Everybody okay? Good. Okay. I can see some of the gear is like, wait, but my body, I don't eat that much and I'm not, no, don't go there yet. Don't do it. Now, why does this matter? Right? We kind of already started alluding to this, but why are we giving you all this information? Again, whenever somebody says, or you've said like, oh man, I need to boost my metabolism. I want to boost my metabolism. What you're really saying is I want to increase my total daily energy expenditure. That's essentially what you're saying. And when we actually define it, then we can start to get some control, right? Because what we're kind of trying to say is, okay, if these are my 4 different components of metabolism, if I say I want to boost my metabolism, I'm saying like, all right, is there any way I can increase my BMR? Because like it's slowing down because I'm getting older, right? Or can I increase the thermic effect of food? Not that that's consciously a thought, but that's what we're saying when we say, oh, I want to eat more protein, okay? Can I increase my NEAT? Can I fidget more? I'll get a standing desk. I'll do something to make me slightly more active. Or can I work out more, right? That's increasing your physical activity. Does this make sense? Are you guys still with us? Or are we in? Yeah. Okay. We're doing a good job breaking it down.
Sweet.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Because you're probably feeling like this right now.
We're right at the edge. We're like, okay.
All right, that's great. But what the hell do I do with all this, right? Like, what can I do about it? Is my metabolism slowing down? Do I need to boost it? Can someone show me more about what I need to do, right? How do I start to boost this? How do I start to make improvements? So that's what we're going to focus on from here on out. And we're going to address some myths and just kind of give you some clarity around some things you might already believe, you might not know are true. And this is our ultimate goal, is to create clarity, right? To create clarity for you. So you have that knowledge and understanding of, oh, this is actually what that means.
Yeah.
And some of these are going to be myths. Some of these are going to be true. Some of these are going to be like, okay, it's kind of true, but here's what this means. So walk with us and we'll show you the way.
Yes. So first one, because who's ever questioned this or believed it, thought it, right? Metabolism slows down with age. Okay. We'll start this. Is it myth? Is it true? It's true. Okay. It's true. But here's the great news. It is not as drastic as your brain probably assumes it is. Here's an example. So we took an example of a woman who's 5'5", 185 pounds. We're just showing some different examples here. At 25 years old, your BMR is about 1,585 calories. Again, that's just like that bare minimum level to feel good and function. At 45 years old, 20 years later, BMR drops by about 100 calories in a whole day. Okay, 100 calories in a day is a handful of almonds. At 65, it drops about another 100. And the reason that this happens is primarily due to a decrease in muscle mass, which we'll go through later, but it takes more energy to maintain muscle than to maintain body fat, and hormonal changes. Your estrogen drops, progesterone changes, and so that changes your BMR slightly. But again, it's not as dramatic. It doesn't crash and burn when you turn 40 or 50. Okay, so good news. Got us? So that's first. And the question is, okay, well, what can you do? Kind of the opposite of what I just said. Your metabolism slows with age, but do you have some control over that? At some capacity, yes. Regular exercise, as probably you know, but particularly strength training. It's not like, hey, let's go do some more cardio. Specifically, what can you do to improve your metabolism as you age? Strength training for so many reasons, but particularly when it comes to metabolism, having more muscle is important.
Strength training is going to be the one of the most important elements to longevity. So being able to have not just muscle so you look strong, but you have bone density with it, right? So when you fall, you can catch yourself. Like there's so many different elements that we have to be thinking of as we age. Being able to maintain that strength is so essential.
Yeah. And typically the other things that are more on the, we'll say on the side, but are still very important are just your sex hormones, your cortisol levels, your thyroid health, getting regular lab or blood work done through your doctor or through a website called Jason Health, different places you can go to get your lab work done. It's just helpful to see how those are changing, not so that you can like panic, but just so you see where your body's at and you can make slight adjustments to what you're doing or get feedback from your doctors is always helpful.
And not to override an endocrinologist, but one of the most important things you can understand is that blood work is going to tell you what's happening on the inside, and that needs to inform your habits. So I'll talk more about that because I have a pretty personal example of that. But it's really important to understand that if you recognize that something is dysregulated with your hormones, that should be a sign to change your habits versus feeling like, oh, it's just happening. Prime example is if you recognize that your cortisol is out of whack, which is, regulating your stress hormones. We probably need to focus on sleep. We might need to focus on mindful practices to help us relax. This is just educating us to see what's happening on the inside, and then we can modulate our behavior on the outside.
Yeah.
But so this is myth number one, just to kind of educate you. It should also feel a little more empowering. Like, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad as I feel like it is. Maybe I just am not as active as I used to be, right? Maybe I just need to kind of be a little bit more consistent and start, stop beating myself up so much, which, hey, that can happen too.
Right.
But the second myth that we want to bust is I just need to burn more calories. I just need to work out more.
Because, yeah.
And this is kind of like one of those in-betweens, right?
Maybe.
And the reason why it's a maybe is because you might have this belief that if I just worked out more, I would be better. I would lose the weight faster. And it's important to know, like, yes, we do need to be able to have activity. We do want to strength train. We do want to have that consistency of movement. But the average American eats 3,500 calories a day.
Real stat.
So this is a real stat, right? The average this is the average, right? So if we're looking at it and knowing what we know right now, here's an interesting fact too. Or let me say, I'll refrain from calling it a fact. It's more likely a typical pattern that people will undereat and then they'll overeat, right? So you might have like a 1,200 calorie day, a 1,200 calorie day, a 1,200 calorie day, but then you go up to 3.5 or 4,000 because you're enjoying yourself on the weekend. It's like you just kind of offset all your work. But then what happens for a lot of people is they get so frustrated because they're like, oh my God, I did so well. It's like, yeah, you kind of did, but you had that one day. So we're looking at that data and saying, well, I just need to work out more. It's like, well, even if we increased our workout, right, going back to our old model, if we said, hey, I'm going to work out for an extra half an hour, right, we'd burn almost 500 calories, right? We could even put on a whole other 500 calories of output, but we'd still, if we're sticking to that model of nutrition, 3,500 calories, we're still going to be at a calorie surplus. And so when you're in a calorie surplus, that's when you either gain or do not lose weight, right? If I'm eating at my maintenance level, I'm not going to lose weight. If I'm eating above it, I'm going to gain weight, right? So the key is understanding that there is some things we can do, but we have to look at it more holistically. Mm-hmm. I need to exercise, I need to move, but I also need to monitor my nutrition intake. I need to be less emotionally engaged in the scale. Right? I need to be able to look at this as a long-term journey so that I can actually see the results that I want. But if I'm trying to get there in 6 weeks or 4 weeks, it's going to be really hard because you're not perfect. Neither are we. So just being able to see that and understand, hey, these both need to be in unison. It's not just exercising more, although that can help so long as we're consistent with our nutrition.
Yeah. Can you do us a favor real quick in the chat? Just drop with you. Because at this point, we're like 30 minutes into like heavy content. So can you just let us know you're with us? I can only see like 6 of you. So just With us, with us, with us, with us. Okay. With you. Good,
Awesome.
good. Okay.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Awesome. I hope this is helpful so far. There's still plenty more, but we're starting from the top, starting simple. So the next one that tends to come up a lot is, like Brian said at the beginning in his story, I need to take a supplement to boost my metabolism. Is there something I can take? Oh gosh, I got to find something, right? And there's so much marketing around this. So we want to bust this. It is a myth. You do not need to take a supplement to boost your metabolism. But Brian will explain kind of what the marketing is all about and what to look out for here.
So when you look at any supplement that's going to boost your metabolism, there's 3 predominant ingredients that you'll find. So you have caffeine, green tea, and capsaicin. Okay, capsaicin. I was like practicing that one repeatedly. So capsaicin is going to be something that's going to increase your core temperature. Caffeine and green tea have a very similar effect where they help increase your heart rate. And now, based off of what you know about your body, that if your body is pumping a little bit more blood, it means it's working a little bit harder, right? So what's happening when you take something like hydroxycut or a fat burner is you're really just increasing your heart rate over the longevity of the day. Now, this can be helpful for burning more calories, but the increase is really moderate if we look at the whole model of what we're consuming. The average intake, or the average increase rather, of calories that you're burned would be roughly 50 to 75 calories per day. And the challenge is, does anyone like coffee? Anyone like coffee? Does anyone notice that the more coffee you drink, the less it works? Right? Like if hey, that second cup does not hit you the same way. And that's because your body it adapts, right? And it's the same thing with those caffeine supplements that you're taking. Your body adapts. Right. And you also want to, consider, like, if you're someone who's generally prone to anxiety, caffeine's probably not helpful to you. If you're someone who has a high blood pressure anyways, probably not helpful for you. Idea. So being able to look at this and understand like what's actually happening, we can determine that, hey, it might help me in the short run, but it's really not going to get that boost that I need. Whereas supplements that we can start to use are going to be more improving how our body functions. So I use the example of thyroid, right? So for me, I actually have early hypothyroidism. So my TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, is almost like 4 times what it needs to be. Now, because I have the education I need, I'm not advocating for other people to do this. I'm finding healthy ways to modulate it before I go to the doctors and get on synthetic thyroid medication. I take a thyroid supplement. I also focus on my sleep. So I put supplements in place that help me, like vitamin D3, because I see that, hey, that's actually lacking in my blood work. So the point is understanding that supplements should be there to improve our health, should be there to modulate maybe what's underactive or not there in our body. But it's more effective to think of how am I stacking the deck for me to be healthy versus just taking a pill that's going to give me 50 calories to burn. Because if I can focus on longevity, I'll actually see more of a benefit and it will help me have more energy.
Yeah. Solid. Makes sense? Myth 3. Boom. Okay, 2 more. Next, eating more protein boosts my metabolism. Is this real? Is this myth? Is this true? We want to clarify this. It's true. It's true. But walk with us. It's modest. Okay, a lot of these are modest if they're true at all, which will make sense as we go. Eating more protein does boost your metabolism, and here's why. Remember the 4 components. One of those components was TEF, thermic effect of food. Okay, TEF is the energy that is required just to digest the food you eat and process it. So protein takes more energy, therefore that number of TEF is higher for protein than for carbohydrates or fat. Now, again, this is very modest. Like, I'm going to compare somebody who eats 120 grams of protein a day to somebody who eats 40 grams, which is pretty common if you're not paying attention to it, versus 120 takes some intention. I think Jen and I were talking about that today. 480 calories versus 120 calories coming from protein is basically what that looks like. Now, what's the difference in your metabolism, right? How much energy is required to eat that much protein versus that small amount? It's about 50 calories extra a day, which again is like 5 almonds. Not extreme. So it's not like a magic, eat more protein, everything's better.
For the record, almonds aren't a good source of protein. Just as we're there, just so you know.
That is correct. I just mean calorically speaking. Anyway, that's essentially one clarification point. So yes, protein does help your metabolism, but again, it's small, so it's still there though. We want to give you the facts and not make this over or less excessive than it is.
And tying down the protein note, it is important for you to eat more protein, right? Protein is going to help you recover from workouts.
Yes.
Protein, because of its the way it breaks down in your body, it's more satiating. So if you're realizing, like I had a client the other day who was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm like, well, how many grams of protein are you eating per day? Like, well, I'm working out so hard. When I work out, I just am so hungry. I'm like, well, tell me more. Like, how many grams of protein? And he's eating like 80. And this guy is almost 270 pounds, right? So it's like, you probably need more protein for your body because you have so much tissue that you need to repair. And if we can increase your protein, you'll be a little more full. So protein will help you when you diet. Mm-hmm. It will help you repair your muscles after a strength training session.
Yeah.
But thinking that it's just there for the boost of metabolism, it's not as advantageous. Right. And so the last myth, right? If I just have more small meals, right? If I just snack more throughout the day, then my metabolism will be higher, right? That's one of the last common myths that we wanted to address. And so this is more in that myth department as well.
Yeah. So the truth is, when it comes to like, do I have big meals, small meals? What is best? When it comes to your metabolism, okay, that's again, we're staying in the lane of metabolism specifically because this is broad. There is no consistent evidence in studies that shows that your metabolism is boosted when you have small meals versus big meals. As long as the caloric intake is the same across the whole day, it doesn't matter whether you have big or small meals, your body processes it the same. So it's really more, this piece of meal frequency is really more about preference and your quality of life. So small meals for some people throughout the day makes managing their caloric intake a lot easier. I know when I was dieting at first, I had smaller meals throughout the day and I appreciated being able to eat every couple hours or wanting to eat every couple of hours. Today, I want to eat like as minimally and as intentionally as possible, meaning 3 meals. So I don't have to take a break from working every hour to eat. And I don't want to be starving all day, right? So I eat very big, satiating meals 3 times. And that's just a preference thing. Small meals also could be helpful to keep your blood sugar regular so that you're not having big spikes. I see that a lot with some clients who maybe just by 11 o'clock, they're really kicked and tired and they haven't eaten since 7 a.m. So instead of waiting to have a big meal at 1, they'd rather have a small meal at 11, a small meal at 2. So it's really more of a preference and what makes your energy the most stable throughout the day. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Excellent. So those are all 5. We did it.
We made it.
We made it.
You guys are on the other side.
Now you got some truth. There's plenty more, I'm sure, but we're trying to keep it fairly concise to the most common that we see. So now you might actually be at the point where you're like, all right, cool. Now, how do I transform my body and maintain my energy then? If there's all these like little incremental things that I can do, again, there's probably some hints you've picked up of like things that you could do that would be beneficial, but we're going to be very, very honest, very straightforward.
So the bottom line is you don't need to boost your metabolism. You need to become a healthy person.
Change of focus.
Because if you become a healthy person, you'll do all the things that boost your metabolism. Right? So it's reversing and understanding that our goal is actually to maintain a healthy standard of life. And we're going to tell you what that actually means. We're going to be very like, we're not just going to leave you like this open-ended, like, hey, go be a healthy person. Best of luck, because that's not very helpful. But what we want to understand is that our goals need to shift. Our focus needs to shift because whatever we focus on, we move towards. And so if my focus is I need to burn as many calories as possible, that, I don't know about you, but that feels very fear-based. That feels very like, oh my gosh, like it's almost a dreadful experience, right? Versus I'm going to become someone who takes care of my body. I'm going to put the right habits in place and I'm going to focus on this the right way.
Yeah.
Is this resonating? Are we seeing where this is going? Awesome. And so how do you do that? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to rest. Right?
Oh, call us crazy.
So before you work out, before you improve your nutrition, are you sleeping enough? Do you sleep enough? Lindsay had a conversation with someone the other day. It was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm doing pretty good. I sleep 5 or 6 hours a night. And we're like, whoa, like pretty good. Like that's like the bare minimum, right?
Bare minimum.
Now, why is it important that you sleep and rest? Chronic stress is one of the easiest ways to lead to heart health, digestive health, mental health challenges that are going to bleed, thyroid health. So when you sleep, your brain repairs itself. And when your brain repairs itself, it also repairs the other elements of your body. So if you're someone who's like, oh my gosh, like I am struggling, my metabolism's slower, we might want to prioritize sleep, right? Getting on a consistent sleep schedule. What you'll find is your hormones will improve. What you'll also find is your digestion improves. And fun fact, your digestion is directly linked to your hormonal health because that's where your body's actually absorbing everything. Now, you don't have to be afraid. Oh, is my digestion system out of whack? Let's focus on sleep first, right? If you optimize for sleep, you'll see the ripple effect come through.
Now, I already know that there's going to be a lot of, I'm a mom, I'm a parent. Yes, you are going to have periods of your life where you don't sleep. It will be okay. Your body can recover. But here's the difference. A lot of times we start to adopt a mindset around sleep where we're just the victim. We can't get sleep. And it's like, have you ever made it a goal? Like you would make a workout a goal? If you thought that it was as important or more important than working out, how would that change just the way you communicate about it or how you approach it or how you change your schedule? I don't particularly struggle with sleep yet, and I don't have kids yet, but Brian really struggles with sleep. If he doesn't try to get sleep, he sleeps like 2 hours a night because of the thyroid issues.
And what I said earlier about my thyroid. So my thyroid, my TSH, my thyroid stimulating hormone was at a 13.5. Healthy thyroid stimulating hormone is around a 4
or less.
And so a part of that was I wasn't sleeping and I was running ultra marathons. Not helpful. Those two things combined were not helpful. I have a genetic predisposition. It runs throughout my family. So I kind of knew this, right? But the point is, I was like, oh, I have to make it my goal to sleep. Like that, like I can't keep sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. Fun fact, focusing on my sleep training, changing my training, my TSH is down to a 9. So the point of me sharing that is that you can start to improve some of what's happening inside your body by just focusing on the right stuff. And what we would like to focus on is, what does a real healthy life look like? Sleep, rest. Even if that's, hey, I just need to rest a little bit. Put my feet up instead of being go, go, go. That's the first principle, okay? The second way is move daily. So what we focus on for a lot of our clients at TFP is building what's called a keystone habit. So a keystone habit is the one habit you put in place that starts to positively impact the rest of your day. Now, the fun thing is you probably already have keystone habits. They just might ruin your day, right? Like you wake up and you check social media, right? You wake up and you check email, right? There's something there that's moving you in one direction. And so what we want to start to do is focus on getting some movement in our morning. Now, why is movement helpful? Again, the keystone habits, the one habit that influences the rest. If I move in the morning, I don't know about you, but do you tend to eat a little bit better when you move? Like, do you think more consciously about what you're doing if you've had a productive morning? Now, you do not need to become the miracle morning person who says, I got to get an hour in. If it's not an hour, it doesn't count, right? Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes. Give yourself the stairs, right? Do the little things that can help you move, but we want to start to move our body so we build the habit, not so we burn calories. Burning calories is the bonus, right? Move your body so you build the habit, because you will change how you think if you move. Your body is meant to move. You and I would have been working in a field as farmers, as agriculture people. That's how our life used to be as a human species. We're not meant to sit in a room with fluorescent lights. Our body's meant to move. So if we move, we'll be healthier. And that's ultimately the goal, is to be healthy.
Getting some solid head nods. I'm glad you guys are with us and getting it. It's really, I said at the beginning, we're not here to BS you or tell you there's some magic pill. We're really here to tell you the truth. And the next piece of really being healthy is building muscle. It's something that I think runs in the back burner, kind of like in the subtle parts of our brain. That's like, oh, people talk about that sometimes, like, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do that. or we're concerned about maybe looking a certain way. But building muscle is the best way to set your body up for success, whether your goal is weight loss or being healthier or being able to garden or run around with kids or grandkids. Building muscle is first and foremost.
Or look great, right?
Or look great.
It doesn't hurt, right?
Yes. And specifically, I know we talked a lot about metabolism. This is the actual fact. I alluded to this earlier, but muscle does require more energy to maintain. So I can eat more calories now than I could 10 years ago. And it's because I have more muscle. You don't put on 30 pounds of muscle, like even within 5 to 10 years, but you do put on at least a few pounds. And a pound of muscle requires 6 calories per day versus a pound of fat, which is only 2 calories a day. So think about it like 3 times the amount of energy just at rest, like not doing anything when you have muscle. So there's that bonus too. But
if you ever see someone talk about has anyone ever seen the afterburn effect? Like that marketing, like, oh, you'll burn calories afterwards. Okay, be on the lookout because that's one of the
there you go.
Maybe Kim did. But so the point is, so you'll hear this talked about in like fitness industries, like, oh, we do Jeffrey, Kim, the only thing I'd ask, just keep your audio off if you can. That'd be really helpful. But the point is, if you hear the afterburn effect, it's because they're promoting this idea that you'll burn more calories afterwards, which is true, but it's because you're building muscle. It's not because of anything about the workouts. It's because you build muscle.
Yes.
So, our HIIT workouts build more or burn more calories after you're done. It's because you built muscle. It's nothing to do with a HIIT workout. It's nothing to do with their fancy way of doing it. Yeah. It's that they built muscle.
Yeah. Okay? And fun fact, most HIIT workouts actually are not as effective at building muscle as strength training workouts. So just keep that in the back of your mind. As we get to Q&A, feel free to ask more questions here, but we're going to pause and go to the last couple here. When we talk about being a healthy person, okay, practicing mindfulness is probably the most valuable skill. I would call it a skill because it's the ability to be aware of what you're doing or thinking or feeling at any given time. And for our clients and people that we do or don't work with, pretty much humans in general, the things that derail us most are what, guys? Stress. Our minds, right? I'm getting in my own way. That it means that your thoughts are overriding your desires, right? Desires of the moment are overriding desires for future outcomes. So if we can practice mindfulness, which again is the definition of mindfulness is awareness plus intention. So we can have all the best intentions, right? Who's ever said, oh, I have good intentions. It's like, but you didn't have awareness. You weren't aware of how you were feeling in that moment, and you didn't have enough awareness to remember your intentions, right? So that's really what we're talking about when we say practicing mindfulness. That's what also keeps you from doing the thing where you go all out, you lose weight, and then all of a sudden magically you gain it all back. You're like, what happened? We didn't have mindfulness. We weren't aware enough to course correct, right? Usually it's a slow compounding effect that could have been caught at 1 pound gained or 2 pounds gained, but we didn't have the mindfulness and life got in the way. And so we gained it all back.
And so this is one of the keys that we have to practice to be a healthy person, especially if we're changing our habits, because it's hard, right? And we have to be aware. The last thing is prioritize macronutrient dense foods. So, micro, I read that one wrong. So focus on having healthy whole foods that are as close to nature as possible. Doesn't mean you can't have a sweet here and there. Doesn't mean you can't go out with your friends. But even when I go out to a restaurant, I want to ask like, hey, what's the healthiest option? Or even the healthier. Maybe it's not the healthiest. Maybe it's, hey, I'm going to have a steak and a sweet potato instead of having the pizza. Or, hey, maybe all we have is a bunch of subs. I'm going to get the sub, but can you hold off on the mayonnaise? And I'm going to get ham instead of the bologna, right? Or salami, whatever you're going to eat, right? So I'm trying to look at my meals and say, how can I prioritize healthier whole foods? Because that's what's going to fill me up. That's what's going to give me my micronutrients. It's also just going to fuel my progress.
So those are really the main elements. And truly, when we look at the what makes lasting change, right? Why do you see people who get fit and then they stay fit and they're just like fit and healthy for life? And when you see people who have been fit and healthy their whole life, you assume that they've always been that way. But really, they probably had a transformation at some point in time. And how would you describe these?
So I think that the key is understanding that there's 3 secrets or 3 elements, right, that we focus on, that we've really seen that make it so you can have a transformation, right? That doesn't mean you transform overnight. Doesn't mean we have that wand. I wish we did, but it's understanding that this is the process of change. And so the first thing is you have to build small sets of successful habits. You have to build small sets of successful habits. You need to know, and that means you need to know where you are and where you're going. And you have to meet yourself where you are. Most of us fail because we don't meet ourselves where we are. We meet ourselves where we used to be 10 years ago before we had children. We meet ourselves where we used to be before we had a job or career or a business, right? So we really have to meet ourselves where we're at. And that means physically meeting ourselves in our body, in our life. But the key is not settling, it's knowing where we're going. And once we know where we're going, we can execute with a tailored, flexible plan. Now, if you know anything about successful people, is none of them are perfect. All of them fail. It's the ability to have flexibility in your plan, though, to never give up, to know that, hey, I have something that's actually tailored to me, my life, my body, what I need in this season of life. And knowing that I can follow it with some flexibility. I can allow it to change, but I can execute it too, because that's what's going to allow me to be successful. And then the last piece, if you want to see lasting change, you have to upgrade your identity, which is how you see yourself, your relationship with yourself, the beliefs you hold. What's wonderful about this is you can change at any point. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's a snap of a finger. But the key driver to every one of our habits is our identity. Has anyone ever read Atomic Habits? You're familiar with the book? Okay, awesome. We have a couple.
Nice.
So one of the things that James Clear talks about is that the center of all behavior change is our identity. How I believe I am influences the actions I take. The actions I take influences the outcomes I get, right? So it's like, even if Lindsay and I didn't believe we were ultimately some of the healthiest people that you'll ever meet, it'd be pretty hard for us to give this, because this is intimidating. But I just know in my soul and my heart, it's like, hey, we have this down because we've practiced it through hard seasons, through seasons where, during COVID, we're like, well, what the hell do we do? All right, I guess we're going to go run, right? We're going to go practice yoga. If you would have told me I would have ever been doing yoga 10 years ago, I would have told you were a fool. But it's something I do now because it's about being healthy. So it's a part of my identity. Mm-hmm. So your identity can change with that too. And these are really how you make lasting change.
Mm-hmm. And I want to give you some examples, because I think that having clear pictures, not just like their progress photos, but just seeing how these actually come together is actually very helpful and inspiring and empowering. So Kelly, she is a client we've worked with for just about a year. She came in so frazzled. She was caretaking. She had 2 little kids. She had a business that, really, if you know the difference between owner operator, she was really in operator mode. So working crazy hours to try to get her work done, running her household because her husband was out for his job a lot from the house. So it was just crazy. And for her, we had to start so much smaller than she wanted to. She had a season where she lost a family member and then she almost gave up. Like, it was this, she's told this story, and I'll have to have her share it in the group at some point. But essentially, she didn't stop. She's like, okay, go back to basics, Kelly. Like, eat some protein, eat some healthy meals a couple times a day, get 2 workouts in a week that are strength training focused. And now her strength training, she posts it all the time because it's like her favorite part of the week. But that grit, determination, and perseverance paired with a flexible approach for her, we had to flex it a lot of times, has gotten her here, where she actually really looks like an athlete now, right? Like, she's really starting to show up that way, and she feels like one. Like, her whole identity has changed. She's like, I'm a badass. She doesn't just call herself like a business owner or a mom. She's like, I'm a badass. It's like, excellent, Kelly. Yes, that's what we're aiming for, right? So it's like, that's really what it's about and how it kind of comes together. Another example.
Another one of the examples I'd love to share is our client, Matt. When Matt first started, he was at his heaviest weight. He was, I can't believe I'm here. He's almost 400 pounds. And when he started, he actually called me before one of our first workouts we had him do. He's like, I don't think I can do this. He's like, I am anxious. I am fearful. Like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. And what I told him is just show up and walk through the motions. Just go really, really small. All we had him do was 2 small habits, right? So I say, like, the key is with small habits, you do have to do them, right? You have to let them like simmer. You gotta execute. There's a piece of the equation where you're doing the work. But I had him focus on doing simple 15 minutes of movement in the morning. And then after, his other habit was have a healthy breakfast. I was like, if you do those 2 things, it will influence the rest of the day, and it will be easier for you to implement the rest of the plan. And he's like, okay. I was like, does that seem doable? He's like, yes, it is. So we focused on just movement in the morning and a healthy breakfast that was full of protein. And then once he did that for about 4 weeks, we were able to add all these other habits and all these other habits and all these other habits, to the point where now he's down today officially 77 pounds, 78 pounds was his official check-in today. But he's like, man, like, I feel so much more confident. He's leading his company. He's leading his team. He's performing at his best. It's improved with each step. It's been like an improvement of his personal development. You know, how do I manage my anger? How do I manage my stress? How do I manage my emotions? How do I start to travel? He went to Italy and didn't gain any weight for 10 days. He's like, I was able to eat mindfully. So the point is understanding that with these habits, they do compound, especially over time. And I will share this. Matt has worked with us for almost 2 years.
Yeah. And
so the point is not that, like, you have to do that, but if you take the long route, you actually get there sometimes. Right? You can actually get to where you want to be versus beating yourself up for not being there in 4 weeks.
yes.
And what's great is his original goal was, hey, I want to lose 25. And now he's taken to that next level. So meeting yourself where you're at, building those habits is so crucial.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that, because Kylie, we're kind of like showing you progression of timelines. The first was just under a year, second year and a half. This is 2 years. Okay. This is a realistic 2-year transformation. Kylie is still working with us. She's an amazing client, amazing human, but she looks like 2 different people, right? And that's because for 2 years, she has been mindfully meeting her body where it's at and making tiny challenges, tiny tweaks to change and get stronger and get better. When she came in, she was like, I just need some help with nutrition. I don't think my body will ever lose like more than 20 pounds. She's lost like 35. Like she had multiple knee surgeries and gained 30 pounds from the knee surgeries. And she's like, I'm never going to run in my entire life. She's young. She's like younger than 40. And now she's running, I think she's prepping for a half marathon right now. Like, so the possibilities are endless if you can learn how to build small habits. You have something that's actually tailored for your body, not just a random blueprint that you print out from the internet. And you really are mindful to upgrade your identity as you go and believe that you can be a fit, healthy person, right? You're not destined to be unhealthy by any means. No matter where you're coming from, you can get healthy and strong. Okay. So we're wrapping it up here. Can we all agree that there is no magic bullet that's going to just skyrocket your metabolism and everything's going to be perfect? Can we agree? Is that realistic? Okay.
Awesome.
Good. We did our job.
Yes. In the chat box, let's see some energy. So that can we also agree that there's no quick fix to just overriding poor habits, that we have to take a little bit of time, we take a little bit of energy. There's no quick fix. There is a fix and we can improve today, but it's not automatic.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thumbs. Yay. Thumbs and smiles. Good. And can we agree that in order to maintain a healthy weight or healthy body, we actually need to become healthy people? Can we agree? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And it's a process, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Excellent. I am so glad. So glad. So I'm going to ask an honest question. I don't expect everybody to raise their hand, but does anybody feel like they hear all of this and they're like, okay, but I kind of still need slightly more direction on like what exactly I'm supposed to implement now? And if you feel like solid, that's also good.
Candy, I'm getting some smiles from you.
Okay.
So we
need just like this much. I know some of you are clients and you're getting the direction. So I'm glad. I'm glad that you aren't raising your hand, but I'm looking at Raina like, okay. But yes, so if that's where you're at, it's okay, because our gift for you is basically, we don't want you to walk away feeling overwhelmed. We know that this is a lot of information. Like we said, metabolism is a huge, huge subject. And we also don't want you to feel like, okay, yeah, I'm good. But then like nothing changes, right? Like you're like, okay, that was great. Hour spent.
And so we're excited to share this with you because we really want to see you start to make some positive momentum, to really take all the pieces that we put together and figure out how to make fitness work for you, right? And so we're really excited to share this. We're really excited to give you this special gift.
And it's pretty straightforward. So essentially what we're going to do, and I have to grab the link in here for a second. There you go. And then I'll come back. So basically, we're going to give you a complimentary coaching session. This is really straightforward and simple. Some of you have had these with me before, or maybe with Brian a long time ago. But basically, a coaching session looks like, what are your goals? Where are you getting stuck? And then we give you very direct feedback. So this is probably like 20 minutes, maybe 30 if you need it, but it's very direct. So we ask you a few questions, we get some context on your history and your background, and then we are going to give you direct feedback on either what you need to do or a resource we have, or if you feel like you need more support, we're more than happy to help you. But really, it's just, how can we give you some direction so that you don't walk away feeling overwhelmed? So I put the link in the chat. It's really easy to grab this. This is actually, oh, I'm glad. Julie and I had great chats. And she can vouch. But yeah, so we want to give you a complimentary coaching session because it's what we do, it's what we love, and we want to make sure you feel prepared and set so that you can actually go implement some of this. So all I want you to do, grab this before it disappears. I just put it in the chat. Just open it on your computer somewhere so you can book with me or Brian. But basically, you can grab the booking link, find a time that works for you, snag it. It's going to be like a 15-minute slot, and it'll go to your calendar too, as well as mine or Brian's. But just grab that before you go, and that way you actually have some direction, okay?
So that way you can start to kind of get that momentum. We'll piece it together, and we're really looking forward to talking to you, looking forward to connecting and helping you piece together these challenges, these questions that might have come up. So before we jump, if anyone does have a more direct question from today, we will answer a few of them. I know it's we're pretty close to the hour, but we'll give you a little bit of TLC. So if there's anyone who has a real direct question about anything we talked about, less about maybe your whole journey, we'll dive into that on the session. But if anyone has any questions, we'd love to answer. You can put a 1 in the chat box, and we'll answer 2 or 3 here while we're live.
Awesome. And we need to lower our hand. So yes, and if, is that us? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we know we had a few specific questions when you guys first jumped in. You are very welcome. You're very welcome. If you have a specific question around like what exercises you need to do for your knees or something related to menopause or something else, this would be a time that you can ask it. Stacy will have her go first, but if you guys have something specific that you have questions on, please feel free to ask us. We'll also tell you if it's not in our scope or wheelhouse for any reason, but we'll answer it to the best of our ability. So Stacy, why don't you jump in and go first? Love to hear you.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask Brian earlier, you talked about your hypothyroidism and you mentioned that that's something you're working on without medication. And you mentioned that you're taking a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I ask what the supplement is?
Yeah, so it's a thyroid support. It's a thyroid support, let's say not a multivitamin, but has a complex in it. And so it has iodine, has selenium, has a lot of minerals in it. It does also have some B vitamins that I might not be getting in my diet naturally, but it's mostly selenium, iodine, magnesium. And vitamin. I supplement vitamin D outside of it, so it doesn't have vitamin D, but it is mostly a mineral supplement. So selenium is really advantageous for your thyroid, and you can get that ideally if you eat Brazil nuts. I eat them frequently. Just a handful of them has a lot of selenium, but that helps to stimulate the thyroid hormone. But that's what I've been taking specifically for that.
Would you mind sharing the name of the brand that you take?
I don't have it on me right now, but I would absolutely share it with you.
We can post it.
Yeah, I can share it with you.
Post it in the group, Stacy.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's a good one. Yeah, iodine and selenium, very helpful. Michael, go ahead. Question do you have?
Yes, I'm a vegan, and I was wondering what you recommend for protein.
Oh, vegan protein sources?
I'm a fan personally of plant-based protein powders. So we use the brand Only What You Need, and that's a pea-based protein blend. So that's advantageous if you're trying to increase your protein supplement is probably the easiest way. You can also, I mean, I'm not a big fan of soy-based products like fake meats or any of those different like Seitan products because they're highly inflammatory to your gut health. So I would say looking at it from the standpoint of maybe supplementing with a protein shake that's a little bit more isolated, then looking at beans, legumes, lentils, that's going to be an advantageous way.
Edamame is a good one.
Edamame too. As a vegan, it is challenging to get your protein in. So you want to be able to modulate just how many calories you're going to be eating with the sources that you're going to be getting your protein from, because it's really easy to have them stack up. But that's what I would look at is a protein shake and then lentils, edamame, and then legumes.
Yeah, those are definitely the biggest one.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. You got it. Any other questions that we've got here? Everybody feels great. That is totally well received. But now is your time. If you have anything else that would be helpful. If not, give me a solid thumbs up that you are good. Otherwise, and set to go.
So we'd love to hear in the chat box before you jump. What is your big takeaway? What did you gain from this? What was helpful?
Yes.
Because Lindsay and I love hearing
that. We're not fishing for compliments, but we do want to know what was helpful. And yes, Life Extension is a great resource. Life Extension, Jason Health, both very good ones for blood work and lab work.
That's a big takeaway. And then we hope to, for those of you who are going to take action, we'd love to connect with you. Look forward to our call. Look forward to that coaching session. Look forward to getting to know you. Thanks for hosting this.
You're welcome.
Really welcome. Learning the actual definition of metabolism, how it works.
So helpful, right? Like, oh, it's not just this amorphous thing. It actually has components to it. Excellent. Yeah, once you drop your takeaway, you're also free to jump. We'll clap you out, but you are free to go because we are done with our content for today. Grateful to have you and look forward to seeing you in the future. You're welcome. Welcome, Caroline.
Hope you're doing great.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah, drop your takeaway and then you're free to go. We always say with our clients, drop your takeaway and then you're free to go. Clear, informative.
Clear, informative. Yeah, I'm glad that was helpful.
I'm glad. And great to see you, Michelle.
Baby steps. Yeah, great stuff.
Meet me at the door.
Thanks, guys.
You're so welcome.
So welcome.
I'm glad you're here. Glad that was helpful, Candy. Really glad.
Yeah. And
Candy, you were my hype woman, just so you know.
Looking at you.
Nice.
It's very helpful when we're doing this because like if people aren't there, Amy, you too, you're very attentive. But when people aren't there, you're kind of like,
what am I talking to do on this Zoom call?
I'm a teacher, so I get it. It's so boring. Like you have to do something. But thank you guys very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I have some new goals to start. So thank you.
So happy.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful night. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.